Hello, to this is Set Free from the Trap Ministry. I'm on here to share what you give yourself over to can affect you. What people give themselves over to in this world can affect them. What you give yourself over to can affect the way you think and act. What you give yourself over to. What you give yourself over to in this world can affect your mindset. A lot of people are giving themselves over to things of this world. What you give yourself over to, you are giving yourself over to can affect you. It will affect you. It will affect the way you think and act. So whatever you give yourself over to, it's going to affect you. It will affect your mindset. So that's what I'm on here to share. What you give yourself over to can affect you. Living in this world, what you give yourself over to can affect the way you think and act. That's what this message is about. People are giving themselves over to a lot of stuff, and it's affecting the way they think. So what you give yourself over to in this world can affect you. If you sit up and listen to negative hip hop lyrics, negativity all day, that will affect you. What you give yourself over to in the world today can affect you. Sitting up listening to negativity, riding around listening to negative lyrics in your car, listening to violent movies, that will affect you. The devil just don't want you to know the truth. What you give yourself over to will affect you. It's going to affect the way you think and act. If you sit up and worry all day, if you give yourself over to worry, whatever you are giving yourself over to will affect you. And violent hip hop lyrics, they will affect the way you think and act. Whatever you give yourself over to in this world, it will affect you. Romans 5, it says, offering yourself to sin as an instrument of wickedness, but rather offer yourself to God as those who have been brought from death to life. Offer every part of yourself to Him as an instrument of righteousness. For sin shall no longer be your master. Sin shall no longer be your master. You're not under the law, but under grace. For sin, a slave to righteousness. What shall we say? Shall we sin because we are not under the law, but under grace? By no means. Do you not know? Do you not know when you offer yourself to someone as an obedient slave, you're a slave to the slave. You're a slave to the one you obey. Whether you are a slave to sin, which leads to death, or to lead to righteousness. Be thankful to God that you used to be a slave to sin. Now you have come to obey from your heart the pattern, the teachings that now claim your eligibility. Now you have been set free and become slave to righteousness. So whatever you give yourself over to. Yes, we were all born in sin, okay? But sin ain't my master no more. I live in a sinful world, but it doesn't master me no more. But whatever you give yourself over to, and people are giving themselves over to things in this world that's it's mastering them. Sin is a master. It's mastering folks. When you watching the violent movies, it's not about entertainment. It's about what you're giving yourself over to. Whatever you give yourself over to, and people are giving themselves over to the things of this world. He says, offering yourself to sin as an instrument of wickedness, but rather offer yourself to God, those who have been brought from death to life. Offer every part of yourself to Him as an instrument of righteousness. For sin shall no longer be your master, not under the law, but under grace, slave to righteousness. What shall we say? Shall we sin because we're under the law, but not under grace? Do you not know that when you offer yourself to someone as an obedient slave, you are a slave to the one you obey, whether you are obeying to sin, which leads to death, or to which leads to righteousness. Be thankful to God that you used to be a slave to sin. Now you have become from obedient the pattern of your heart. So whatever you give yourself over to, whatever you give yourself over to, whatever you giving yourself over to can be your master. It can be your master. Whatever you're giving yourself over to, instead of surrendering to a relationship with Christ, what you give yourself over to can affect you. Listening to violent hip hop lyrics and even giving yourself over to worry, that can affect you. Bye bye.